church bell, then we do the same thing. I know my mother didn't raise me this way, but look at life told me before it was too late. I know my mother didn't raise me this way. Look at life, lie.
Welcome people, it's the Broken Plays podcast. I'm your host Glade. Today I have some very special guests. I have Paul McKenzie and I have Nariana. Today I'm going to be talking to Paul about his podcast, his YouTube channel. We're going to touch on everything from Palestine to youth knife crime to what it was like growing up in the 80s back in Tottenham. How's your week been?
Hectic, hectic week. I mean, you know the type of work I do anyway, so I'm always out and about.
Yeah.
This week, in particular, there's been a lot about these missing children and raising awareness about where they could be going, because you know I do all this stuff around criminal exploitation. And so, yeah, it's been a hectic week. Been a few children attempted abductions. So just been out there trying to do the awareness stuff.
Yeah, that's crazy. I've been seeing it online, like a white van.
It's mad.
And apparently they're targeting black children as well. I'm hearing this.
It's mad, but you know, my problem is this is right now that we are all starting to look for white vans.
Yeah.
Right. But you know, if somebody does an armed robbery, the first thing they do is get rid of the car that identifies them.
Yeah.
So while we are distracted looking for white vans, they've probably got a blue one now.
Yep.
So now everybody's focused on this white van. Just try and work out why and where these children are going.
Yeah.
And that's where you're going to find where these people are. Because it's not just happened this week.
Yeah.
Because if I said to you that 280,000 young people go missing every year, you see, it's shocking, isn't it?
That's mad. I didn't know that number.
280,000 children go missing every single year. In fact, it was 2018 and 2019 combined, it was nearly 300,000.
Yeah.
So where do those children go? Who abducts them? How many white vans are we really looking for?
Yeah.
Before we take the focus off of that and start asking ourselves where the children are going. Yeah.
Nah, for real.
Who's kidnapping them?
That is mad, and I think, where are they going?
Yeah, like, there's a lot of places. There's a lot of places.
But it's not like, you see, like, God forbid, if they was being killed, the bodies get found, you find out about these things. But like, even when you said that number to me, I had no idea that many children go missing. Right,
it is shocking, and we tend to only look for missing children when they're ours, isn't it? You know what I'm saying? Of those 280,000 children that are missing, many of them come back. Yeah. Because you've got to look at why somebody runs away. So somebody might run away because they've got mental health issues.
Right.
They may be depressed, it may be peer pressure, definitely criminal exploitation, grooming, that type of stuff, online activity, making children go missing. But we have to look at the causes, what's causing it.
Yeah.
So in my opinion, take your eye off the white vans and start educating your children about the dangers of what's really out there.
Yeah.
I feel that as parents, we know the streets are dangerous. Yeah, first of all, why are the streets dangerous? We need to address that. We know it is serious youth violence. Yeah. Secondly, how are we making our children aware for them, for them to stay safe? What are the lessons that we're giving them? We have to do it now before obviously they become one of those victims. Yeah. And then we go on social media and start asking for solutions. But by that time, it's already too late. The other thing that gets me as well is the pictures, because we're looking for the white van and then we still got the image of the little boy going around on social media, but nobody ever thinks about the long-term trauma for that child. So instead of sharing the image, kind of do it in the background, because social media is a monster. So when that child is year 10, year 11, people still saying, well, you're that child that got abducted. Does that make sense? Yeah. So we have to be careful. It's a vast area, when you're dealing with people that are traumatized from it. It impacts every area of everybody's life. It's mad.
Yeah, it's crazy, and I've been I see it in the media a lot, but like sometimes I'm kind of desensitized in a point where like we see things in the media and you think, it's messed up, but then once you log off, it's just like you forget. Yeah. And it's a bit crazy, and we do need to think. Because in my mind, it's like, I don't know anyone who's been kidnapped, and I don't know anyone who's doing kidnappings, but these things are very real, affecting our culture, and it's like,
But I mean, why do you think somebody would be abducted? Why do you think a white van would be rolling up near school, trying to abduct young black boys, for example?
Yeah, sickos. Maybe it could be like pedophiles, a sexual thing. It could be like, I don't know, child trafficking. They want to sell them to people who can't have kids in other countries.
Yeah. Organs.
Yeah, organs.
Some people talk
yeah, see,
about.
that's a big thing. That's happened in Africa, and that there was bodies getting found with missing organs.
Yeah.
Especially, they do say like the organs from young people are like, they're fresh and all of that. And it's just mad when you think of stuff like that. Like there's people out here that's like, that's what they do for a living. You know what I'm saying? That's actually crazy. Like I do understand we live in a sick world, but that is crazy.
The world is sick, but it's like almost asking that question, isn't it? It's this has been going on for a long time.
Yeah.
You know, let's if we talk about criminal exploitation, let's talk about the amount of young children that are abducted and sold off as sex slaves. Yeah, or the amount of young people that are abducted, put on drugs, and they're made to sell drugs. It's vast. The area is vast, but we have to look at the root cause of this before we start looking for white vans. Because I personally feel that the whole white van thing that's already too late.
That's a media thing, man.
Yeah, that's already too late. And the more we focus on that, the more we lose the distraction. We lose it.
Also, I was looking on your channel and I see like a video you was interviewing like a 13, 14-year-old kid, and he had a case for knife point robbery, and he was explaining to you why he carries a knife. Like, talk to me, like when you're making that type of content, like what is the goal?
The goal is awareness. The goal is, for me, is seriously, that video was made about 3 years ago at the beginning of the peak in knife crime.
Yeah.
So that video was made as in an attempt for that to be shown in schools, for other people to see that, and also for parents to be able to see and check their children.
Okay.
Because 9 times out of 10, if your child is hiding weapons or drugs or money in the room, you're the last person to know. Does that make sense? You're the last person to know. And we live in a culture where we only address, and you quite rightly said it, when you turn off, you turn off. In this culture, unless it knocks our door,
we don't pay attention to it like that.
Why?
It's true. Because I used to be one of those kids. Like, so I knew how to like...
One of what kids?
Yeah?
What kids?
Them kids that were in the streets, that was doing stuff and all of that.
So nothing's changed.
Yeah.
Nothing's changed. Apart from now, they put the label serious on it, and then we've got knife crime, and then obviously we're looking more because people are losing their lives on a daily basis. However, I was involved in knife crime when I was young.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So for me, it's about how do we raise awareness? How do we educate children?
Yeah.
How do we educate young people that the YouTube life is not really the thing?
Yeah.
It's an illusion.
It is.
Does that make sense? It's an illusion. But they're buying it.
They're young, man. It's very hard. You have to understand, like, especially me, like my parents, I'm first generation British. So my parents wasn't from here. They was here before I was born. Yeah. But they wasn't from here. So there's this disconnect, and it might not even just be that we feel a disconnect from our parents. You don't understand what's going on. Yeah. You don't understand how I feel, what I'm trying to do. Yeah. And you find some answers out there. So it's kind of very easy to deceive your parents, and you just, to the point, if you already believe someone don't understand, you've made peace with, they don't understand you or what's going on or how you feel or think. You
go and look for something else.
You go look for something else, and now their words, opinions or judgment.
Yeah. Well, you go to YouTube. So like mum says, don't do this. Why? You understand? We didn't have. I know you. Yeah, because I saw some of your early videos of the bomb squad and everything. So you guys, that was the beginning of YouTube, the revolution, wasn't it? But for my generation, we didn't have mobile phones. Yeah. So when we went out, we were out.
Yeah, you was out and
about. But we survived. So now the children have got all the tech, they've got all the social media, they got everything. And now we've got this crisis where young people don't even feel safe to go to I've got my son don't feel safe going to the shop. Shop's like, you can see it from the yard, but it doesn't feel safe because it's not natural to just feel safe. You have to always be aware of what's going on. And I'll tell you what's really interesting is actually I was approached by two white boys a couple of weeks ago, and they said they saw, funny enough, the same video.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, we know you, we saw your channel. Yeah. And I said to them, you know, because obviously my thing is do you feel scared?
Yeah.
And they said, no. They go out play football. They don't feel scared at all. And I said, wait, so you're not afraid of knife crime? They said the only thing they're afraid of is if they get caught in the crossfire. Okay. Imagine that. That's quite safe, isn't it?
Yeah, that is safe because the chances of you getting caught in the crossfire.
There you go. The chances of getting caught in the crossfire versus the chances of a young black boy stepping out of jail with a knife, dressed with his balaclava, constantly feeling that he needs to be on his guard. You understand? And what's interesting is what we have to understand as well is that the main cause of mental health issues is the presupposition of racism. You understand? Or the or PTSD, you know, them kind of things, they tie in. And now it's intense now.
Yeah.
You know, young people, if you imagine if you leave your house and you're constantly on the lookout, how does that play on your mental health? Constantly watching you're on the bus, you're constantly watching who's on the bus, you're constantly watching who's down that road, you're constantly watching who's in the barber shop. That's not good for your mental health.
Can't even play your music too loud in your headphones because you need to.
Because you've got to be aware. And if you slip one day, then you become
that could be the end all be all.
Yeah, and that's not right. That's not right for a young person to grow up understanding that that's how society is.
It's bad.
You know,
it is bad. It is a bad place to be at, and also, I do feel like, you see, one thing we got that's good in this country. I feel like eventually the majority of people grow out of it. You know what I'm saying? So if you're lucky enough to make it through, people end up growing out of it and end up realizing, yo, that's not the way, man. We all coming from the same place, dealing with the same things.
Yeah.
That's not the way forward. But at the same time, I remember being that age, you couldn't tell me nothing or any of my peers because you just didn't understand. You know how it is, when you're young, you think you know everything.
Yeah, until you reach early 20s, late 20s, and all of a sudden, all of those things that you were told in the house, all of those values that your parents had or the belief system that you were growing up with all starts coming back.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Unfortunately, by that time, you might have ruined your life. You might have gone jail. You might have bodied somebody. Does that make sense? You might have done something to somebody which has caused a feud, and you might want to move on with your life, but they're not ready. Do you see the pattern? So they're not ready to move on. Yeah. Because you want to move on. But look what you did to us back in the day.
Yeah, they're not hearing.
And so you growing up now in a society where you, even as a responsible adult, you might start having children. You'll still be watching your back. So now you transfer it to your children. So now it's not safe for your children because of something that you've done. See the challenge?
Yeah, it's about
deep.
Because I feel like you get the energy you put out into this world, it comes back to you. I truly believe that. Now, don't get twisted. I do believe sometimes we get energy that we don't deserve, that we didn't warrant, we didn't ask for, we didn't put in. But I believe that energy that you give out in this world will come back to you.
100%.
You know them ones, and
100%.
I do believe that, and I just wish that I knew that from an early age. The energy that you give out will always come back to you. And I feel like if kids know this and they actually realize what they want, like what do you want out of life? Like, you know, and you gotta understand that, if that's what you want out of life, you're gonna have to put that energy out there.
But yet, like you said, it's got to be good energy though, because you do grow up.
Yeah.
And you can't be going forward with a mindset that says because you're young and reckless, you can just do what you want.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Because you will grow up. If you're fortunate, you will grow up.
Yeah.
And now you're an adult and you've done all these things. What happens? Where's the karma? And when it comes back on you, it's almost a shock.
Yeah. Where did you grow up? What area?
I grew up in Tottenham.
In Tottenham, in like what? Is it safe to say, I don't know, that you saw what Tottenham was like in the 80s? Did you see that?
Yeah, I knew it was riots and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, all of that stuff, which is pretty much the same. It's just more intense.
What was Tottenham like in the 80s? Was there a lot of black people there in the 80s?
Yeah, wait, yeah.
Caribbean,
Yeah.
all types.
Yeah, it was a
African.
beautiful community.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there was a lot of community values.
Yeah.
A hell of a lot of community values. When I was growing up, if I did something wrong on the street, a neighbor of a neighbor of a neighbor of a neighbor would get that message back to my house.
Okay.
So there was that understanding that we all looked out for each other's children. And that's what's missing now. There's none of that. You get young people that disrespect people's parents in front of the children's faces.
Yeah.
They don't care.
Yeah.
But when I was growing up, if I did something on the way from school, by the time my dad got home, somebody was there to tell him.
I see the movie Babylon, right? Yeah, I know you're probably familiar with it.
Wow.
You seen Babylon?
Yeah.
I watched it a few
Wow.
times. I like it because I just wish, sometimes I just wish I saw not just this country, the world in the 70s and 80s.
It was totally different.
Completely different. And
It was great. It was great.
Was Babylon realistic to how things was at that time? Because I know.
Realistic enough.
Yeah.
When we're talking about realism and trying to capture the culture at that time, I think it done a really good job. I think the culture now is a bit more confusing.
Yeah.
Because we're living in a technology is hard to capture and hard to calibrate how it's changing society. But the culture now is changing on a weekly basis. Whereas the culture that you saw in Babylon was fixed. It was nice. There was a sense of community when you watched it, right? Yeah. There was a sense almost like a grapevine that you don't do that to them because it impacts them.
Yeah.
Now it's like I don't care if I impact that. I don't even care. I worked with a family of two boys that were feuding, and the parents went to school together. Okay. So you've got two boys looking to kill each other, but the parents are great friends. Never in the 70s and 80s. Never.
Because they would have known each other, innit? They would have built a relationship.
You grew with each other. Yeah, I look out for you, I look out for your children. Now it's like, you get children feuding and they don't care that the parents know each other. They don't care about the impact.
Yeah.
And that's when I'm trying to paint this picture of the difference, you can see it. It's that community aspect of it's been erased. I'm not just a black community, popular culture is what's changing things. Music is changing things.
Yeah.
The videos that children watch, young people watch, they're changing things every week.
Do you feel like, because even me growing up, I definitely feel like me growing up, like in the 90s, I experienced a lot of racism young growing up. It's not as bad as that when I got older, I noticed is, with time, obviously it comes down. Did you experience racism, like growing up?
I grew up in a time when, because you know about the skinheads.
I know about
about skinheads and the mods.
Yeah.
And so I remember when the skinheads came out. I remember when there was you used to leave school and there was this fear that the skinheads will get you. So the skinheads, and they used to be packs of 8 or 9 of them in their big boots, crumbly coats, skinhead. And I'm not gonna lie, it was terrible to see. It was fearful. Because if you did get caught, they'd beat you up. Yeah. But they never killed. There wasn't a lot of killing. There was a lot of, the big boots in your face and all that stuff, but there wasn't that end. So I grew up in the time with the skinheads, the mods, the punks.
Yeah.
All, that was what affected popular culture. And then you had the black culture in between that used to run from the skinheads. Not so much the mods, they were pretty cool. The punks were just so chilled out that they just did their own thing. But the racism from the skinheads, we're talking about swastikas sprayed on your cars, on your windows. They smash your window, all of that. So in terms of racism back then and racism now, a lot of people who scream about racism now have never lived through what racism was when it was right there on your door. We could be sat here and 8 skinheads will come and kick the door in and try and beat us up. Now that type of stuff doesn't happen now. So you may get the institutionalized racism, or you might get that little innuendo as you walk past. But back in the 80s, early 90s, it was right there in front of your face. Yeah. So a lot has changed.
I remember there was a time I was maybe about 7, and some guys, I wouldn't say they were skinheads, but they were white guys, and they were throwing stones at me and my mum saying, go back to your own country. And I was confused. I remember asking my mum, what do they mean your own country? Like, what does that mean?
You was born here, right?
Yeah, I was born here. What do you mean own country? And my mum was like, I'll tell you when you get older. She just wanted to, she didn't want it to like, affect me in terms of racism.
Yeah.
So I do, so like when I see the movie Babylon, I remember he's singing the song, we can't take no more of that, nah, nah, nah. And I knew exactly what he meant.
Yeah, you can't take, them times is the skinhead times. Those times there, that's why they wrote that film, it's great. Brixton Riot, all of that sort of stuff. Now it's more under your nose.
Yeah.
It's there, you might feel it. But then you used to feel the fist or the boot or the brick coming through the window or racism in school was quite, when the skinhead movement came out, children would come to school openly, skin off their head and come to school.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden they didn't like black people. Be like, well, what are you talking about? You understand? We were friends. Now you don't like black people. Then we had the National Front. National Front was the big, the NF. They used to spray that everywhere. Every black business you see NF on the wall. National Front. But again, that's my feeling of racism, and I haven't really felt it like that since.
Do you feel like the police was doing anything to stop them?
At the time, I was running from skinheads and I was running from police.
Yeah.
So it was the best of both
like they were the
evils.
same thing?
I just kept running. I felt like at that time, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I did feel safer knowing that there was a police force around, even though I got up to my bits.
Yeah.
It was always about me doing whatever crime I did.
Yeah.
It was never about whether or not the police just did not like me.
Yeah.
So it was always about I knew I shouldn't have done that, but I got nicked for it. But now it's I feel now because it's been forced kind of behind the curtain.
Right.
There's a greater sense of it could be behind the curtain.
Okay.
So because you don't know if it's behind the curtain, is it there? He's the bogeyman. It's like the Wizard of Oz is the guy behind the curtain.
Yeah.
And that's how we live our lives now. Is that place racist? Is that policeman racist? Is that organisation? Whereas in the 70s and 80s, you knew. You knew. Don't go in there.
Don't go there.
No.
That's not okay. I wish I saw ideally I wish I saw the 60s, 70s, and 80s.
Yeah, I was born in the 60s. It's great. Look, I often say to my children, right, you don't know what you're missing. I remember as a child getting a bike, right, and then 3 or 4 of us just riding for miles. And it was nothing but those memories now. I'm trying to explain to my child, but that was a sense of freedom.
Yeah.
Your children used to play out. Parents would go, when I came home from school, I put my school bag down, I'm gone. I'm out in the community playing, and then I'll be back home at some point when my parents expect me. Now what do you mean you want to go out? Go where? You understand? You feel, very occasionally my mum or dad used to warn me about big catastrophes that happen. They used to give you an example and say, don't want to go there but it was never like, you don't want to go to the shop. Or you just don't want to go to your friend and sit in the park with your friend. Are you mad? Yeah. That's where we are now. It's like, why do you want to? Yeah. And I feel the children, the young people feel that. And I feel that adds to the fact that, they like online living now. You don't even have to have a friend that you've met. Yeah. You just, I know him from the gaming community and you consider him your pal. Yeah. But you never met him. And when you think about that, that's ridiculous. You've never met him, but that's your pal. Yeah. And you talk to him every night, you game with him for more hours than you talk to your family. Yeah. But you never met him. That's crazy.
Nah, it's true.
And you get your values and beliefs from them. Yeah. Because if you watch these young people, they pick up what they do. And they want to be just like them. And so you as a parent going, well, okay, do you want to sit down and have a chat? He said, no, I would do, but I'm chatting to... Like, what? I'm online. I'm talking to my brethren. I've never met him. But I don't want to hear what you got to say. I want to hear what... Yeah. That is... We came out like that as well. Okay, so it was, yeah.
We
so
was like that as well. We was outside. I remember like
so
people had to come knock for you.
If you stop it and then start it again,
Yeah.
because these cameras are just rolling. Yeah. So if you, is it recording again? Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me just pick it up from there. So yeah.
Yeah, I felt like we was outside, like at our, like growing up. I felt like we used to knock for each other. If you didn't, you knew where everyone was at, so you get dressed, you come back, and you knew they're either gonna be here, there, or there. You find each other.
Yeah,
it wasn't as much. Technology did kick in on us. Don't get it twisted. We had it. We had MSN, and we had mobile phones.
MySpace. Oh, right, like render.
Yeah.
You remember the render? Every video would render, and it's like, oh my God, you watch it in an hour. Now, anything on the planet that anybody wants to see, in any second of the day, you can see.
You can see. Don't you think that's crazy though? See, when we was young, we had to experience and see these things with our own eyes. We might see it in a movie, but remember, movies and TV shows, we knew they wasn't real. So you was kind of, even though you've seen it in a movie, that's something you saw in the movie. But now, like, we had to experience things to know they was real. Now, you can see anything you want, and you can see not no movie, not no TV show. You can see real people doing it.
Real
anything
time.
you want, real time.
You can even, you see, that's mad. Just imagine that from real time, Like you can watch an incident that happened 20 seconds ago.
Yeah, that's mad.
Think about that for a minute. Just even, usually you need to have a podcast about tech.
Yeah, not for real.
So it would be a great one actually, because then the concept of time travel. Because if I'm in one part of the world and you're in London and something happens in London, you send it to me in Australia, that's effectively time travel.
Yeah, that's it. I can send it to you in a split second.
So you've experienced it, but we're 8 hours behind here. So I've seen it effectively before I caught up with you.
Yeah.
That's mad.
Australia is a whole day away. There's a conspiracy right now. Some guys believe Australia ain't a real place. You know what I mean?
Oh, you want to go there? You want to go there? You want to go?
Some people they don't believe Australia exists.
You see that? You see, I like conversations like that.
Yeah.
I like conversations like, is the world round or is it flat? You know what I'm saying? It's all things we need to explore. But then, because we live in a world where information is the key now, information is the currency.
Yeah.
You can come up with a theory tomorrow and have half of the world searching to work out whether your theory is true.
No, it's true.
Whether back in our day, it's either true or it wasn't.
Yeah, there's so many
benefits. Did it happen or didn't it?
There's so many benefits with technology, I feel like.
Yeah.
I feel like, you can learn things. You could absolutely, like, let's be honest, a kid who doesn't go to school, for instance, could learn a bunch of things just off of his phone on the internet. He can learn
disciplined, he learn more than he does at school.
Real talks, like, you try to, like, if I'm not feeling too good, I Google my symptoms. It will let me know how I feel. Oh, okay, so what's wrong with me?
Yeah. Boom, boom, boom. What should I do?
Yeah.
Who should I see? Yeah. Tap the link. Where should I?
It's crazy. I call my doctor or dentist and tell them, I tell them what's going on with, they're like, how do you know this? I say, I Google the symptoms. You know what it was? Like, let me Google the symptoms, I need answers.
Years ago, it was just pain, innit? There's just a pain in my arm. Now you call up, you were specific.
Yeah.
It's just below the muscle, which is, wow. But like you said, it's a benefit. And I feel that with any benefit, there's always the side of it where it becomes malevolent and dark.
Right.
Just by virtue of it being there. And I feel the way, the pace at which technology is moving right now, it becomes easier the younger you are.
Yeah.
So technology now is becoming easier. So now, at the age that I'm at, it's going to take me 1 or 2 days to figure out an app. I still don't understand Snapchat. I still don't understand what the hell TikTok is.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'm not going to lie and sit here and say TikTok is that and it's good, but I don't know. However, my sons, they download a couple of seconds. Does that make sense? So their children, even less. And so in terms of the world becoming a place that is it's quite dangerous because, my son, came home the other day and he was like, Dad, in school, they're teaching us about the gender thing and, and literally giving us links to watch and pages to watch. And I just feel that we have to be careful because when you're given too much information, then you make too many choices.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Yeah.
So now you're not just making one decision, you've got decisions which are sub-decisions of sub-decisions. Now you're confused.
Right.
And so the world can become a confusing place. And don't get me wrong, that's not the topic I'm talking about, but I'm just saying that's an example of technology, is that a lot of young people, let's talk about serious issue violence, a lot of young people find their enemies via social media. We didn't have that. If I knew a boy was looking for me, Jesus Christ. Do you know how long it would take for him to find me?
Yeah.
It would have to be incidental. It would be like, oh my God, you're in the same place. But now it's like...
Yeah, now they look on each other's pages to find out where you at.
Yeah, that's the danger,
Nah, it do be crazy. I did want to ask you about, because I was listening to your podcast and also I was on your YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And I see you was talking to a young female, I forgot her name, about violence. And she was speaking about some of the violent acts she's committed, but also the violent acts that were committed to her.
Yeah.
How she was born in Holloway Prison, I think.
Lydia, yeah.
Her mother.
She was born in prison.
What was her name again?
Lydia.
Lydia, yeah.
She was born in prison. She was basically born into violence. And any story of a person being born in prison, it's like, this is crazy to be born in prison. But for her journey was a very violent one. Up until the point where she became a victim several times. It didn't just happen once.
Yeah.
And we're talking about very serious incidents. One of the incidents, I literally cut her body almost in two. Yeah, that was hundreds of stitches. And so in terms of her becoming a victim, having been so violent, it just shows you. Now she advocates, obviously, for victims of violence and youth awareness and knife crime. So she advocates for those things. But it's an interesting story. Yeah. But again, do you remember when you spoke about, it's funny how in life we do things and then we get to a point in life where we want to mend things.
Yeah.
So now we've done it, now we want to mend it. So now I broke the window, now I want to get some putty because I want to put the pieces back. It's difficult.
It's difficult.
And karma always comes back.
Karma does. Yeah. That's why I feel like, look, you might not always be able to mend and fix things you've done in the past. What you can do is learn from it and use those mistakes to motivate you to do better. And I don't mean do better as in a judgmental aspect where like do better than this person or that person, but do better for yourself.
For humanity.
Like, you know what I want? For
just
humanity,
do better.
Have better energy in the world and it'll come back to you.
Yeah.
For real.
Yeah, because it is, like you said, it's just energy.
Yeah.
You put the energy out there is good. And in theory, good things happen, innit? In theory, innit? You may still get hit by a bus.
Yeah.
With a lucky number on the bus.
Good energy will come back to you.
But good energy will follow. That's what we want, innit?
Yeah.
But until you do it, until you live that way, you will never know. Because you can't keep being... one thing that really grates me, and I had to say, I was going to say it earlier, is this whole generation of people wanting to be a bad man.
Right.
Wanting to... You understand what I'm saying? Certain. I'm talking about certain popular culture. You know what I mean? That perpetuates. You have to be a bad man. You know what I'm saying? And if that's the message you're filling the generation's head with, then it's really difficult for them to now see that. Okay, actually, I don't want to be a bad man. Actually, I want to be an architect. Yeah. But nothing supports it. Does that make sense? Actually, I want to finish school. Yeah. But listen to the music that I listen to. It says, don't finish school. It's not worth it. Because you can make that P. Yeah. Right. You know what I'm saying, innit?
I know exactly.
And it's a very dangerous time that we're living in now because there's a lot of listeners.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people listening. Not many people taking action, but a lot of people listening.
Yeah. No, it's true. I definitely do feel like I wish when I was young, I got taught about consequences to actions. I wish I got taught about thinking 5-10 years ahead. I wish I had that mentality from young.
It's difficult. Yeah, I'm not going to tell you, when you're 50, you should be doing, all right.
Yeah.
But like, I'm not even 30.
Yeah, that sounds mad.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? I'll get back to that when I'm 49, innit?
Yeah.
Because you never, but there are some people that do that, they write goals,
Yeah.
they do that 10-year plan, they do that, and they end up in places they want to be. But, you know, trying to explain to a young person that, look, don't follow the YouTube revolution, stick to that.
Yeah.
Stick to this and you'll be much better off, because the YouTube generation will die off. And those artists who are not being listened to, they just vanish.
Yeah.
Because you're not like, you know, you remember when you used to have an artist and you used to go, oh my God, I haven't seen him in years, but he's still, you know, them old cronies.
Yeah.
Now, when your time's done on YouTube, you're done.
Yeah, you're done.
Don't come back with nothing more. You're done. When your video's not banging no more.
To the masses, you always have like a core, like there's people who's not necessarily popular, but they still have their core fans and groups that support them.
Yeah. Like a lot of the old school hip hop artists who are now in their 50s, they're still touring.
Yeah.
But I just can't see this generation like touring with grime.
There'll be a select few.
There'll be a very select,
very
select few. You know what I mean?
Select few. I feel like the culture here is still like urban culture. I feel like full stop. Like as in, should we say we had Sade? We had some people, but I'm saying I feel like urban culture here. I feel like it's still developing. We're still behind, and I feel like it's still developing. And then sometime it will come into its own.
And then it will, you know.
Yeah.
Then it will create certain artists that are flexible enough to change genres, to change their style, to change and show more of their talent, if that makes sense. Whereas I feel that the majority of the music, and I'm only talking about young people music, because if I'm going to go back to my music, I still listen to some music I listened to in the 80s. That's mad, right? But some of the artists coming up now could do with awareness sessions to teach them about the industry, to teach them about their talent, more so than just slamming them on a video, talking this talk, which leads to this talk, and then none of their real talent is explored. And I feel there's so many young people that are actually very talented that, you know, the industry should start pulling that out of them, because then there's longevity.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
And I do feel like the kids need to know, like now me growing up and realize, we all come from the same place, the same struggles, we have similar backgrounds, similar families. None of us are competing with each other. You're not my enemy. We just all come from the same circumstances. And because we're kind of forced into some of the same areas and occupy the same space, we're going to clash. That's natural. But let's not let that get to a point where we're killing each other and harming each other and putting each other down.
Enough of that going on in the world.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Look, you know, recently Palestine and issues like that come up. So even after this whole pandemic thing and that's been going on for many years.
Yeah, since like 1946, I think. Yeah, Palestine just want their country back, and I understand.
Yeah.
You know,
that's maybe a topic that you should cover. Do you know what I mean? Because a lot of people want to really talk about that, because it's a historic issue. It's
crazy.
And it doesn't seem to be getting any better. And it's been going on so long. You've had children born and die naturally. In a war. That's crazy. In a world. That's crazy. Born into a war, die naturally. The war didn't get old age, but the war's still going on.
Yeah, they've been fighting over that land for many years. A lot of the neighbouring Arab countries, there was a big war in like the 80s, if I'm not wrong, about it. And it's like all their lands being occupied. Like after World War II, the Jews needed somewhere to settle. They picked Israel. And what we need to understand is Palestine is not just Muslim people, there's Christians from there, there's Catholics, but the majority is Muslim. And I do feel like their country's been taken from them, and them trying to get their country back Now they're being mistreated, and I feel like the world's just sitting around watching. I remember when Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait, the whole world, the UN, they invaded Iraq immediately. No, you cannot. Yeah. This is a peaceful world. We cannot just be doing that. Yeah. But now these people's land can be taken. They can be killed. It's documented. We're seeing this.
Yeah, and to be honest, we're seeing it, but because it's such a historical thing, I think a lot of people, they're not very reactive to that cause.
They're desensitized.
It's just a thing.
It's just another conflict with the Middle East. But it's not a conflict. It's actually bullying what we're seeing. Don't get it twisted. They have named this group Hamas from Palestine, and they are fighting back. But you have to understand is that you got to understand that Palestine and then people, that country that they call it Israel now, they had that, the whole country. Now, I think maybe what they have is maybe 10% of the country now. Small, and they're surrounded, and Israel is funded by a lot of people around the world, and I do feel like it's genocide what's happening. And we're seeing it, and there's civilians getting hurt, and I understand wars happen. I understand wars happen. I understand wars happen and countries have conflict, and I'm cool with it. Let it be soldiers and armies versus soldiers and armies. I don't understand why there's missiles getting dropped on civilians, kids, all families.
It's upsetting.
Families having to sleep in the same room.
Yeah, it's upsetting, and I've been looking at so many different posts. There's so many conflicting posts about the issue. People, there's a variety of different feelings around it. So I always just reserve judgment on it because I know what I think, and I know the kind of world it is. So I never kind of go down that route of trying to investigate and bring that kind of news out there, because I feel people need to look historically, and then they'll get the answers. So it's not just that image that you see in the press. It's been going on a hell of a long time, which means there's lots of evidence. So go back, do your research, and see exactly what's going on the planet, and then you kind of understand how it works. You understand?
I do get it. It's a terrible thing to see, and I see a lot of people don't want to speak on it because they kind of don't know exactly what's going on. And I know it's a conflict and we're desensitized to it. It's a conflict that's been happening for years. But it's just heartbreaking when you just see how some of the Palestinian people are living. And they're saying, families are all decided to sleep in the same room because they're like, if we die, we want to go together.
I heard of families swapping children to make sure that the odds.
That's crazy.
Does that make sense?
To make sure there's one person
in
left
2021.
That's mad.
Does that even make sense?
I can't believe the world's allowing it. The UN, I cannot believe the world's allowing this to occur.
Like I said, you've got to do the homework and do you understand what I'm saying? There's a lot going on in the world, and there's a lot of reasons why things continue to go on.
We can't. I don't know. I feel like they're picking and choosing right now. Who's a bad guy and who's wrong? I feel like wrong is wrong, and we need to deal with that. Wrong
is wrong. But you can't be wrong and right. And it's so we're trying to be wrong and right here. You know what I'm saying? And I don't want to go down that whole politics thing, but just look at politics in itself. You know what I'm saying? So many issues are created just out of politics. That the world could do without. But because we need politics, right? Or do we?
100%.
You know what I'm saying, innit?
Yeah.
There always seems to be that tail end of it where it's the politics of it. Whereas people just want to get on in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Some type of, I don't know, man. I feel like just in this day and age, there ain't really no excuse for this type of country war. I do believe people need to be able to talk. And come to some sort of agreement. But it needs to be like some type of world laws where like someone needs to get sanctioned for this. So I know any other time, any other countries have done this.
Would have been
Saddam Hussein, they've done the same to Gaddafi.
Massive sanctions.
Massive sanctions. They condemn you for this stuff.
But you know what's interesting is that even though we're having this conversation here, is we are now in a time where I guess over the last couple of years so much has happened that we have now become communicators. So we're now taking the stance to do things like podcasts, to You understand what I'm saying? To use our platforms more constructively to raise those points, because if we're waiting for the politics to sort itself out, we might have to wait a long time, innit? But what I love about this new age is that people are actively talking about the topics outside of the news and outside of the main media, and it's raising awareness in different pockets of society where people would have just normally looked at one view. Yeah? So I think it's an interesting time. Communication is what's going to change the planet, and the way we communicate and the way we receive and use the resources that we've got to create dialogue like we're doing now, narrative.
I feel like there's a big disconnect through generations. I feel like the generation before mine, they judged us, and we always thought we would never be like that. And I know my generation judged the younger generation. But we have to learn to accept.
It's a top down. It's a top down, and it's gonna happen. I'm talking to my children like, don't do this and don't do that. And they at some point will talk to their children. You know, Dad used to say this and did it, and it goes on and on and on and on. But this generation, I feel that they need to pay a particular attention to the older generation, because you don't want to make that disconnect where you have young men who are having children who have no idea about their beliefs and values, because that's where your children get them from you. Because they get them, they're like sponges when they're born. They get them from you. But if you have no idea, if you think crime is right, violence is good, killing is good, you've been all of those values there. If you think that's good, then don't be surprised if your children grow up and repeat.
Yeah, that's true. We have to teach.
How do you break the pattern?
I do feel like as much as we pass judgment and we point out the things we don't like about the generation underneath us, I feel like we should also point out the things we do like. You know what I'm saying? I don't feel we should come at them with just the negative. We should tell them about the positives.
Beautiful, yeah.
We like how much smarter you are than us. How more technology savvy you are. The way they're more sure of themselves, know what they want to do. They're more liberated than we are, like that.
They certainly have motivation.
And
it's a great thing to see motivation. It's just how you use that motivation. Just guide them, because for me growing up, motivation, there wasn't that much happening. You grow up, you get a job, you retire. That kind of structure there. Now there's so many different facets to living or lifestyle that if you don't have the right guidance, you could easily fall off at any point. And it just makes it a bit more challenging for them.
Nah, I hear that. But it's been great having you on. I'm really glad. I feel like we touched on quite a lot of things. And I feel like now talking to you about this, like the content I've seen on your page and on your podcast, makes much more sense, man. And I'd like to thank you for coming on.
It's been good, man. It's one of my more enjoyable interviews.
I'll take that as a huge compliment.
That is a compliment, because, like you said, if you see the content or you see the work I do, I'm even getting to a point where I'm saying to myself, you know what? I'm going to start pursuing exciting things, fun things. You know what I'm saying? Raising awareness, you do it for a certain, you've got to hand that over. You know what I'm saying? And then you've got to start pursuing your own adventures. And I feel that that's where I'm at now. And I feel privileged to have had that time to have made that. Because I know some of it is still being used to this day in schools and colleges. I know the amount of families that have been affected by the awareness. So it's good. So I'm happy.
Thanks for coming on.
I know my mother didn't raise me this way, but look at life told me before it was too late.